Hello everyone. Today, Avery and I will analyze the Green Book and Crazy Rich Asians to show our topic, which is a film rhetoric of ethnic minorities from the perspective of white culture. The Green Book is known to delve into race, identity, and class. In addition to analyzing the Green Book, we will examine another important minority, Asian. Through the analysis of Crazy Rich Asians, we use two foods with American cultural connotations: General Tso's chicken and fried chicken. General Tso's chicken is considered Chinese food by Americans, but in fact it is not recognized by Chinese food culture. Fried chicken is the most representative food about black racism. First, we will examine some of the deceptive rhetoric used in the Green Book, which deftly diffuses racial tensions. Secondly, we will mention the Asian stereotypes in Crazy Rich Asians and explain the racial issues. By analyzing the accent rhetoric of different characters, the class issues in Crazy Rich Asians will be represented. Finally, we will use Geert Hofstede's cultural dimensions theory to analyze the conflict of family concepts in Crazy Rich Asians. While the Green Book has won Oscars and accolades, the film has also been met with skepticism. Nick Vallelonga, the white lead Tony's son, is one of the film writers, but the film does not resemble the black lead Shirley's relatives, who have criticized the film's lack of authenticity. However, the Green Book is not a documentary, and the authenticity of the film is not we want to investigate. The dissatisfaction of Shirley's relatives and some black groups with Green Book led to a new question about whether the rhetoric of film depicting minorities had an obvious white cultural gaze. We find deceptive rhetoric in two plots. The first plot shows Tony and Shirley sharing fried chicken. Schmidt, a professor of race and folklore at the University of Missouri, said the way blacks eat chickens is the focus of criticism and ridicule. Black people always like to eat chicken, which becomes a stereotype with racial discrimination. The film dissolved this stereotype humorously through the understanding and respect of the two men. However, from the Marxist criticism view of class, it is a fact that Shirley was elevated to an elite that paid attention to table manners, while Tony was a rude working class. This class contrast lessens the conflict between the races. Secondly, although there is no information about Shirley's sexual orientation in reality, Shirley is assumed to be a gay in the film. The dual oppressive identity of sexual minorities and blacks has led to what has become known as the missing color of the rainbow, as it pertains to black queer resistance. This issue can be discussed more deeply, but the film only features a white Tony fighting for a black Shirley, and the subject of homosexuality is brushed aside. The role of homosexuality became functional, and more emphasis was placed on Tony's understanding of Shirley as a white man and his sense of justice.
Now I'd like to discuss the issue of stereotyping within the film Crazy Rich Asian. Rich, as seen in the title, is the new way of stereotyping. There's a popular traditional Chinese dish in the Western culture called General Tso's chicken. However, this dish does not even exist in China. Such a phenomenon indicates the comprehension of people from the West towards Chinese culture is biased and incorrect. At the very beginning of the film, Eleanor reveals her identity as the owner of the hotel after she and her family was humiliated just minutes ago. This scene suggests Eleanor's possession of wealth and even hints at showing that off. Well, this contradicts with the traditional stereotype of Chinese who are always good at math or straight A students at school. This tag "rich" also still limits the personality of Chinese characters.
The director uses accent rhetoric to convey his depiction of Asian class. The accent of the oldest grandmother in the family is Beijing accent, a symbol of the afterglow of Qing dynasty and a sign of her noble status. Almost all the members of the old Mani family in the movie have British accents. Miss Young's British accent masks her Malaysian accent, while the male lead Nick's London accent corresponds to his imperial educational background. The Rachel's mother tried to hide her Singaporean accent because it would be considered a lower class accent. In fact, most of the film is Chinese, but the director uses the term Asian in order to make it easier for white people to understand the complex internal genealogy of foreign citizens of Chinese origin.
These conflicts are not limited to race, but also involves the perception of family and class. Scholar Geert Hofstede proposed 5 perspectives in evaluating cultural differences, but here we're only appealing to 4 of them. The first one is power distance index. Hofstede claims it's the uneven level of power between individuals and they take it for granted. Hofstede 2003, page 3. Nick's family has a relatively high PDI as a large portion of Nick's life is in control by his family, including his marriage and his career. Rachel's family is the opposite. The audience never see Rachel's mother telling her what to do. Instead, she steps aside from Rachel's life and only provides suggestions from time to time to Rachel, as we can see in the scene where Rachel's mother provides Rachel with comfort after she broke up with Nick. Secondly is the individualism. Hofstede claims it's the relationship between individuals and groups. Hofstede 2003, page 3. Nick's family is collectivist for sure, as the film emphasized members' dedication to the whole family. Eleanor gave up her opportunity in order to marry her husband, indicating that a woman is supposed to be submissive and sacrifice her own good for the benefit of the whole family. While Rachel's mother always encouraged her to chase her dream. This also shows the cultural differences. And thirdly is the masculinity. Hofstede claims it's how differently do the two genders behave. Hofstede 2003, page 3. In the film, Eleanor is in charge of domestic matters while her husband is in charge of matters outside the family. Similarly, Astrid is depicted as a person with exquisite taste in fashion, but all that was presented on screen is how she purchased luxurious jewelry without thinking twice. Also, towards the end of the film, there's a party where there's a detail that female entertainers dressed in bikini. This scene also appears to the cliche of feminism that women need their beauty and body in exchange for their benefit. And the last one is uncertainty avoidance index. Hofstede claims it involves uncertainty, ambiguity, and society that has a relatively low index do not like surprise and they wish everything has a routine. Hofstede 2003, page 4. In the movie, when Rachel first met Eleanor, Nick's mother, Rachel hugs Eleanor as a common way of greeting in the Western culture. However, Rachel was left unpleased and even startled. This also indicates the cultural differences between the Asian culture and the Western culture. In conclusion, we chose the film Green Book and Crazy Rich Asians and analyzed how, under the Western context, film rhetoric would engage in depicting the two different cultures using critical race theory, deceiving rhetoric, stereotyping, accent, and the cultural dimension theory by Geert Hofstede. We chose these two films because we believe these two depictions of two different cultures within the film is controversial to a certain level, and such controversy is worth studying, and this will give rise to new insight into the film rhetoric out of the two cultures.